Hello, beautiful people. Marguerita here. I am super honored to be here with you. If you are coming in live, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm leading a new path and a new direction with my message. I'm going to be doing some EFT tapping with you today. So I've been kind of dancing around how I integrate this new direction with my past videos, and I see a perfect alignment with doing EFT tapping with these broadcasts that I'm doing. So I'm even going to get you to do EFT tapping while I'm delivering my message, because tapping is so powerful. And even if you are not focusing on a specific target, it is still having a direct impact on your central nervous system, on your belief systems, on calming down the fight or flight syndrome, on releasing fears, limiting beliefs, even though you're not actually focusing on anything. So I'm going to actually get you to start doing some tapping very soon while I'm delivering my message. I've also been grappling with going down this path for some time, because it's obviously it's very controversial. There's going to be people who they just don't agree with me at all, and I'm going to lose probably a lot of my listeners. And is that really the best possible result? So my husband's just coming home, so expect he's been out for a ride on his motorbike, so just expect a little chaos for the next few minutes. And I sort of realized that I am not just a light worker, I am a light warrior. I was born for this. Why was I born at this time? I was born to help people to reclaim their power, to understand that all of us are infinitely powerful. As I help each and every person to reclaim their power, I am actually doing the work that I came here to do. And EFT is an incredible part of that. It's kind of given me my voice over the last 10 years or so. And now it's time for that message to evolve. And we are at a critical point for humanity right now. We're at a critical transition. There's a lot of chaos going on right now. There's a lot of bad stuff going down right now. A lot. But I do not want you to get drawn into the fear. Do not get drawn into the fear. I'm 90% certain that the light has won. I am incredibly uplifted and positive about the future of humanity, that we have won. We have overcome the darkness. Make no mistake, there is dark and evil on this planet. There is. And I'm incredibly positive that we have overcome the dark forces and that the light has won the day. There is still a lot to play out, though. There's still many unknowns, and there's still many different things. It could be a really dark transition. We could go through a period of great darkness, or if we wake enough people up, it could be an incredible time for all of us. So a time of great enlightenment. I believe there will be a certain number of casualties along the way. I think that's inevitable. And that is really unfortunate. But the more people we wake up now, the more people who stand up and deliver their message, this important message, the more people who speak out, it's social proof. There are a lot of people who are questioning what's been going down over the last 12 to 18 months. But there's not enough people actually asking the questions. There's not enough people being vocal. If more and more people are vocal, I went to an event here on Friday night, and we're all supposed to be wearing masks. That lasted about half an hour. Everybody's over it. It was an outside event. And we're all supposed to be social distancing. Nobody's social distancing. I must admit, I live in Queensland. We've been very, very fortunate here that we haven't had a mass outbreak, or we could have been unfortunate because we haven't had people who are building immunities in response to it. I'm kind of in two minds with that. I think if we go, then we would have herd immunity being built without the treatment that we're being encouraged to take. That could, and I need to be very careful what I say here because I do not want to be deplatformed. So I'm going to be I'm going to speak in code. My position and my purpose here is to empower as many people as possible, to empower you, to help you to reclaim your power and to make bold decisions for yourself, to ask questions. We must ask so many questions. Too many people are just, yes, okay, yes, I believe, I'll do whatever you tell me. This is the way we lose our freedom. It is the way we will be even more repressed than we have been already. So sick of being called a loon, Keith. I know. And, when a lot of people finally wake up, it may be too late for them. If you've heard some of the once highly respected medical professionals, scientists, researchers, virologists, immunologists who have been speaking out and now been discredited because, oh my goodness, they might just threaten the agenda. If you listen to them, one very grave possibility that the path that we are going down right now, and these people have been in doing their research for decades. They are not anti the jab. They're not anti-jabs in general. They are sending out massive alarm bells about this one because of its nature and that it could be catastrophic for all of us. I don't know if that's true. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I don't need to be to listen to people who have been in this arena for decades. This is their life's work. It's their career. If you follow the money and you listen to Big Pharma, they absolutely have an agenda. They're in the business of sickness. I said this in the last broadcast. They are in the business of sickness. They're not in the business of health. The more people who are sick, the more money they make. They don't care about your health. They don't. Why would they have any vested interest in your health? Why? So it's incredibly important that you are awake, that you're paying attention, that you're asking questions. And we are being prohibited from asking questions. Look at the shutdowns that we're having on social media. If you go against the current narrative that they don't want you asking questions. They don't want you. You're inconvenient if you ask the wrong questions. So it's super important that we all start asking questions because there is no logic behind what has happened. If you look at the statistics that are from the CDC and from government websites, this makes no logical sense. The action that that we have been subjected to, the lockdowns, the masks. Actually, the masks are way more detrimental to your health than they are effective in helping you. And there's a lot of who's paying for these studies that come out and say, oh, but they work. There are other experts coming out and saying, I've been in this arena for decades. We know they don't work. So follow the money. Who pays for the studies, for the treatments? Who pays for the studies? There's a massive conflict of interest going on there, don't you think? There are no independently funded studies. You might have seemingly independent parties doing studies. Who is funding them? Follow the money. It's mind-blowing when you follow it back. And I was very disturbed by a comment yesterday in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in that hasn't been taken down yet, which is very surprising. But it's about reporting adverse reactions, right? Genuinely reporting adverse reactions. It's not about, cult science or all the rest of it. And this teacher came in and said, I hope millions of students get the jab because blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute. And then she goes, the disturbing part of her rant was, she said, these things that they stick in you are not experimental. I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean they're not experimental? Any new medication that has not had extensive testing, any medication, let alone one they inject directly into your body, is experimental. This is why they have years and years and years of trials. How were they able to roll this out in double quick time? Because they declared states of emergency, which are actually completely, they're unlawful, because there was no, at least in the last 6 months, there's been no evidence that we are in a state of emergency. It's bogus. The only way they could get it approved, provisionally approved, is under the state of emergency conditions. The websites themselves by the makers of these products say that they're in trials until 2023. So we are creating the biggest trial in the planet. Even our government officials in Australia have said, this is the biggest trial that's ever been conducted. You are part of a trial if you take this. We don't know the long-term effects. Nobody does. And there are potentially dire consequences. I would not say this if I didn't think that there was a huge possibility that we are in the eye of the storm at the moment. Actually, we're not in the eye of it. I think we're coming out the other side of it. And it could get really bad if we continue going down this path. But none of us know. None of us know for sure. It's all one big experiment. But what if some of these highly regarded, these highly regarded and celebrated and highly esteemed officials, doctors, scientists who are coming out and speaking against it, who have no agenda, they risk losing their entire career. They're risking their entire careers to come out with this message. Why would they do that if they weren't seriously concerned about what's going on? So I'm going to do some tapping now, because we can't get wrapped up in the fear. The forces that are at play, the dark forces, they feed on fear. They want us to be afraid. Why do you think all the mainstream stories that are coming out, they're always fear, 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 fear? It's a fear-based narrative. As long as they keep us in fear, they can control us. So don't get drawn into the vortex of fear. We are at an incredible time for humanity, and we have such an amazing opportunity. This is when humanity gets to wake up. This is when we make a quantum leap in consciousness as a global conscious collective. This is when we get to create the amazing world that we all truly want. This is where wealth, freedom, happiness, health gets to accelerate on this planet. But we need to be proactive in that. If we sit back and allow this narrative to dictate terms to us, make no mistake, this is not about health. This is about control and one of the greatest transfers of wealth in our history. Do you know that big tech has increased over the last over 12 months Every quarter, they have increased their profits by 27% each quarter. Do you think they have a vested interest in this current situation continuing? Of course they do. I've been drinking through a fire hose the last few days. I was listening to a symposium yesterday that is in Europe, that is a group of highly intellectual people who have banded together to fight for our freedoms and to bring us valuable information. And one woman was saying that it's big tech, it's pharma, it's China, and it's Bill Gates. They're all in bed together. And have you noticed that our society is quickly accelerating toward more and more like a fascist or communist, socialist way of being? This is the Great Reset. They have basically said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Since when? Now, they've been dragging us toward, bit by bit by bit, they've been dragging us toward this point for decades, if not hundreds of years. And the beauty of it is that people are starting, because of this huge acceleration that we've seen, people are starting to question, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. But not enough people are speaking out. So let's do some tapping, because I really want us to reclaim our power and our freedom. Remember, you are an infinitely powerful being. You have the power to not only transform your own life really quickly when you reclaim your power, when you understand how powerful you truly are, you also can influence and impact people globally to help us to create literally a world of bliss and happiness and joy, a 5D reality. How many people get to transition into that state is still a question. And how we get from here to there is still a question. It could be very messy. It could be very ugly. Or if enough people wake up now, it could be super exciting. It could be very, very special. It could be a utopian reality. That's going to take a while to play out, because obviously with what we have been living and what we have created so far, there's a lot that needs to change for this utopian sort of style reality to be created. There's a lot that has to be undone, and we can't just like, oh yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. It's like, no, our society depends on certain functions, on certain things, on oil, on these kinds of things. So we need to make a transition. But the more people who wake up right now, the more people who reclaim their power, the better this is going to be. So let's get into the tapping. I meant to do that right up front, but once I get on a roll. So just start by tapping on the inside of the eye and repeat after me. I choose to know I am infinitely powerful. I choose to reclaim my power now. I choose to reclaim my freedom now. I choose to own my infinite power. I choose to know I am infinitely powerful. When I step into my infinite power, I am the ultimate power, the ultimate creative force. I have a power within me that I cannot even imagine. I leave behind all the lies. I release all the lies of disempowerment. I own my true power. I am infinitely powerful. I get to create my life my way. When I step into my infinite power, I am reclaiming my freedom now. I am reclaiming my power now. I refuse to be controlled. I refuse to conform. I refuse to give my power away anymore. I release all the lies that I am not powerful. I release all the beliefs, the limiting beliefs, stories, and false truths that I am not a powerful being. We've been lied and deceived for way too long. I refuse to believe those lies anymore. I choose to claim my infinite power now. I choose to know all things are possible. I am the source of power and freedom in my life. I choose to claim that power now. I am infinitely powerful. I am reclaiming my power and my freedom. I am an infinitely powerful being. I am reclaiming my power. I am reclaiming my freedom. I am rising up, and I will not be controlled anymore. I reclaim my power and my freedom now. Okay, deep breath. Release it. Deep breath. So this is a powerful tapping sequence for reclaiming your power. I recommend that you do that on a regular basis. Now, while I continue talking, you can tap on the ends of the fingers like this. Just keep tapping on all the fingers like this, and then you go back. That is actually very, very powerful for releasing those limiting beliefs, stories, and paradigms that are stopping you from claiming your power. This whole disempowerment agenda, this whole control agenda that's been happening. And you can, just while I'm talking, you can keep doing this because it's releasing your emotional attachment to whatever is keeping you locked in this paradigm of the lies and the deception and the deliberate repression of humanity. I'm sorry if you can hear my husband down there, by the way. He's on the phone under the house. He obviously doesn't realize just how loud he is. So, yeah, just keep tapping while I deliver the rest of my message for today. I've been taking so many notes the last few days. So there's something I was listening to yesterday. The implications of this are so incredibly vast and far-reaching. I hadn't even thought about some of the stuff. So the people I was listening to yesterday, one woman in particular, she's multimillionaire, but she has a data company, and she said, it's about control. and keep tapping. And it's also about data collection. Data is the word on the street is, and she's in the industry, is that the collection of data it's the new oil. If people have your data, then they can sell that to other people. They can monetize it. So if you think about all the different apps that we have to have on our phone now, and make no mistake, they are rolling out in Israel. Look at what is happening in Israel. That is just, it is scary to see what's happening in Israel. And don't think that it won't come to your country. This is what they want. So in Israel, they are forcing, well, it's forced through coercion. So there is massive discrimination on right now. You would have heard about the green passport. They're even talking about rolling it out here in one of our states already, in Victoria. And this is discrimination. This is divide and conquer. This is saying that you will not be able to go about your normal activities unless you have this. And you will be branded via your digital passport everywhere you go. You will have to carry it. You won't be allowed to shop. You won't be allowed to go to cafes, restaurants. You won't be able to do the things and enjoy the freedoms that you've already had, even go to the beach, if you don't have this passport. It's not gotten that bad here. It's not gotten that bad here yet, but it's already happening in Israel. Denmark took to the streets for 9 days to bang on pots and pans outside of their parliament because of the draconian laws and the tyranny that was going to be introduced through 3 new laws that was basically going to take away all of their freedoms. They stood outside parliament in their hundreds, if not thousands, banging on pots and pans for 9 days. They stopped them from putting those measures through Parliament, and they are saying that it is not over yet, but it is a big step in the right direction. And if we don't stand up and make some noise, then the same thing's going to happen here. And this is discrimination. We are going to be discriminated against as to whether or not we have had this in the arm. Our freedoms will be taken away from us if we haven't had it. Do you not find that scary? Do you not find that somewhat dictatorial? How dare they? How dare they tell me, a perfectly healthy person who statistically would be untouched by this current illness, virtually untouched. I might have some symptoms. I might even be in bed for a few days. With my immune system, knock it over like that. And I've spent a lot of money, time, and effort building and maintaining my immune system over decades, and my health, and my strength, and my body, and my fitness. That's one of my top values, is my health. How dare you decide and dictate to me that unless I am part of your trial, your experiment, I'm going to lose my freedoms? I'm not even at risk. Oh no, but you have to protect those who are. Small percentage of the population, yes. There is a small percentage of the population, mostly the elderly, those who are immune compromised, those who haven't looked after their health and who have conditions, those who've been dealt a bad hand. But we do not know the long-term implications of this, and darned if I'm going to be subjected to some experimental trial that we don't know the long-term impact or implications of, because I'm supposed to protect the small percentage of people who are vulnerable. You don't get to dictate that to me. And damned if you're going to take my freedoms away from me. So there's an expert that I was listening to yesterday. His name is Dr. Ryan Cole. He owns Cole Diagnostics in Idaho. 17-year expert in the laboratory. So what he does, he's done 100,000 of those tests in the last year. He was saying in a very informative speech that I saw, presentation that I saw, keep tapping, it's good for you, that as an expert in immunology and virology, he said, we don't have cold and flu season. We have a deficient vitamin D season, a deficient vitamin D system. He said, if you have sufficient vitamin D in your bodies, and the most at risk are those in the cold countries. So those who get ice and snow and get below zero, and because you have 3 to 4 months where you're not exposed to sunlight. So during those 3 to 4 months, he was saying that 70 to 80% of the population is vitamin D deficient. He said, if you have sufficient vitamin D, you will not get very sick with anything, including the current thing that is been front and center for the last 12 months. There's also highly effective treatments that cost pennies, literally pennies. And countries who have rolled out those treatments, third world countries, guess what? This whole thing has basically gone away. Doesn't exist. Because if you use these treatments, one of them being ivermectin, careful not to say it, then the studies have shown that these treatments are highly, highly, highly effective. No hospitalization, no deaths. The problem is, according to him, according to Dr. Ryan Cole, is that if there is a legitimate, effective treatment for it, they can't roll out this. They can't provisionally approve it as an emergency measure. It's illegal. So what do? They discredit those. They take it away from us. They remove those treatments and stop them being available. They demonize those and discredit those who would even suggest that they're effective. They do bogus studies that go, oh, no, they're not effective at all. Follow the money. The fox is in charge of the hen house. Think about that. The fox is in charge of the hen house. So I just have so many different things here. It is really time for us to just say no. We are potentially surrendering our Christ consciousness if we allow ourselves to be subjected to this. Once you have it, you cannot go back. It is irreversible. That's if you get the new technology one. It is irreversible. There's no way to reverse the effect in the body. It changes your biology. It is time for us to wake up from the dream state. It is time for us to stop. We do not have the luxury of apathy and complacency. We do not have the luxury of waiting for somebody to come in and save us. The more people who speak up and speak out and even just ask questions, you don't have to say anything controversial. Just start asking logical questions because things do not add up. When you start to lift the veil and just start asking questions, there are a lot of people out there who are still brainwashed, including the medical profession, brainwashed, who will call you a conspiracy theorist, a term that was coined in the 1940s and 1950s through government and then rolled out deliberately by media. It was a campaign. So if you use the word conspiracy, then those people were immediately discredited and targeted. And basically, those people are mentally unstable. If they believe that, then they're a conspiracy theorist and they're mentally unstable. Well, right now is the time to be one of those conspiracy theorists, because conspiracy theorists like myself ask, we ask uncomfortable questions, and questions that are that threaten the agenda of the elite and threaten the agenda of the dark forces. If we are uncompliant and we ask these questions, then, we're dissenters. We are inconvenient. These questions are inconvenient. But the more you ask them, the more it'll trigger those people who are still asleep to go, actually, that is a good question. They might have to hear that question 10 times. But if they hear it from multiple sources, there's this social proof. And as soon as there is social proof, as soon as there are more people asking these questions, you become less of the minority. You become less of the fringe dwellers. At the moment, we are stigmatized, we are ridiculed, we are mocked because we're conspiracy theorists. But if more of us grow who are truth seekers, we are seekers of the truth. I am deeply invested in liberties, freedoms, and power for the human race. Do you think those who are at the top, controlling the narrative, have the same investment in your liberties, your freedoms, and your powers? There's a question. How much do you think these people care about your liberties, powers, and freedoms? How much do you think they really care about how healthy you are? If they cared about how healthy you are, where's the education for your immune system? Where's the education on this beautiful, perfect body that was created by God, by Source, by the universe, by the divine creator, whatever you want to call it, that is perfection? Where is the education that has been lost that tells us that is the manual for this body? Stop interfering with this divine creation. FFS. Stop interfering with this, my divine creation. Start showing me the natural way to boost my immune system, to support what is naturally brilliant, so intelligent, this learning capacity that my body has to fight and eradicate anything when it has the right support, when it has the right environment, when it's not compromised, because our lifestyles deeply compromise this perfect vehicle, this perfect vessel. There is nothing wrong with this vessel. There is nothing missing from this vessel. When we give it the right support, the right environment, it will learn. It is intelligent. That is what it was designed to do. That is why we have survived for thousands of years. There is a life cycle. We are born, we are die. Some people die early, some people die late. Yes. But to intervene in this perfection, that is a travesty. Actually, I believe that this body is sacred. My body, my freedom, my choice. And how dare you make it inconvenient for me to live making choices for my body and not have you dictate to me. How dare you dictate to me how I look after my health? How dare you rob me of my freedoms and say, no, if you don't do what we tell you, we're going to make life really difficult for you. I'm struggling not to just explode right now with all sorts of expletives. We've got to sock it to them, and I'm not encouraging you to go out and, do anything that's going to be, violence is not the answer, never has been, never will be. But standing up for our rights is. So follow the money trail, do your research, get educated. Be very careful about the sources that you get your information from. Make sure they are credible. Make sure they are verifiable. And there's a lot of rubbish out there as well. So be careful what you are consuming and educate yourself to a point where you can have a highly intelligent conversation with people saying, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And you can back it up. So, for instance, this Dr. Ryan's talking about vitamin D and cytokine storms. Dr. Gert Vanden Bosch, highly credible 17-year, well, longer than 17 years, but he's been doing this stuff. I don't know if it's longer than 17 years, but he is a doctor and a researcher. He has a PhD in virology, highly credible source for information. What about what he's talking about compromising our immune system with these treatments? What about that? When you can talk to people on a level that they can't just dismiss you and say, oh, you just watched some meme on Facebook and now you're just spewing out stuff. No, I'm not. I've done my research. Be able to show people you have done your research. You have looked at credible sources. Because that is the only way we're going to get the people who are still asleep to question the narrative. Keep tapping. So anyway, there's a lot more that I want to say, but I'm going to leave it there because I'm already at 40 minutes and I don't want this to be too long because I know that people won't watch it. So it is the temple, Keith. It absolutely is. A lot of our government agencies are highly corrupt. A lot of our politicians are highly corrupt. They are puppets for the agenda. And one thing I'll leave you with is something I was listening to the other day. Is that says, how do the few control the many? They do it by controlling a few people, and they make they get these few people to make concessions. How do they control those people who are like at the top of the pyramid? Through financial reasons, through threats, people who speak out and who will be listened to. A lot of them lost their lives already getting this message out there. It's tyranny. It's horrifying. And these people are then, these few people then get the message out to more people. And these people are also kind of at the mercy of the system. And they are told to suppress the next level. Now, by the time you get down a few levels, you don't even know that there is an agenda going on. You don't even know that your liberties and freedoms are being taken from you. You don't even know that you're being lied and lied to and deceived. It's very, very clever. It's subversive. It's psychological warfare. And they have been perfecting this for decades, if not centuries. They have been manipulating us and taking away our liberties and freedoms through our financial system, through our health system, through our food system. Do you realize that our food system has so much sugar in it because sugar is such a highly addictive substance? It is also highly inflammatory. It compromises our health. It causes so many diseases. We used to consume, over 100 years ago, we used to consume like 1 kilo of sugar a year. Do you realize that most people in the Western world now consume about 1 kilo of sugar a week because it's hidden in all our foods? Highly, highly inflammatory substance that is destroying our temple, our bodies. And because it's so addictive, we can't get enough of it now. So it's subversive, it's very sinister, and it has to end now. It has got to end now. Rise up, reclaim your freedom, reclaim your power. Know that you are an infinitely powerful being and nothing and nobody can manipulate you or take away your freedom unless you allow them to. The only way they get to control us is if we submit, is if we give away our freedoms. Now, at the moment, if one or two people rise up, or even 10 or 20 or 100, they're easy to control. They're easy to repress. And we're made an example of. Don't do that, because the authorities are going to come down hard on you, even if it is unlawful. You're going to get locked up. You're going to get demonized. You're going to be punished, man. But if millions of us rise up, they got nothing. Nothing. If millions of us come together as an informed, empowered, conscious collective, they can no longer repress and control us. It is that simple. So my call right now is for us to come together. Now, I meant to say at the beginning of my broadcast, I'm going to wrap it up right here, right now, that my websites are still down. So I'm still working on that. I have an IT professional who's working on bringing them back up, and they will be back up within the next 2 or 3 days. I am going to be rolling out a lot more EFT tapping videos about wealth, about empowerment, all that kind of stuff. So lots more EFT tapping videos are coming that will be integrated in with this new message that I'm bringing out. Well, it's kind of an old message, but it's a new level. It is about our freedom. And that's what I'm here to do, is help humanity to reclaim their freedom. So start helping other people to wake up. Yes, you will be, as Keith said, sick of being called a loon. Yeah, it's tough. Those people who are still asleep are going to ridicule you, mock you, call you an idiot, a fool, that you're part of a cult, that you've, been sort of corrupted in some way. We're the ones who are awake. Stand firm and confident in your message. Get as much information as you know, so you are empowered and emboldened and confident, and you have the courage of your convictions to speak out and just say no. I will not conform. I will not allow you to dictate to me anymore. Enough. This is where humanity has to get to. And do your meditations, do your spiritual evolution, because that's also about taking back your power. It's understanding who you truly are inside, because once you know that, man, it is endgame for them. Once we know who we truly are, how powerful we are, how amazing we are, how magnificent we are, how we are source in this human body, it is endgame for them. It is over. I'm going now. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you loads. If you think this message is powerful, share it out with others. We really need to get the message out there so that we stop giving our power away. We are the saviors that we have been waiting for. We are the saviors we have been waiting for. Love you loads. See you soon.